Hello, today I'm going to be talking about 10 science fiction books I want to read. There are so many that come on my radar all the time, but I'm keeping this list to 10 today, and some others may come on my radar in the future. I did a list of 5 science fiction books that I want to read a couple of years ago, and I read all 5 within half a year or so, and it was a successful project for me. So we'll see what the outcome is for the ones that I get to. And the first on this list is Where Late the Songbird Sweet Birds Sing. And I love the title because it sounds poetic right away. I love a science fiction book with just as much attention to the craft of writing as to the ideas, the cleverness, and execution of the story. And this one is a Hugo Award-winning novel. It says here that it is one of the best treatments of cloning in science fiction, and that this is a blend of hard SF and humanistic SF. It takes place after the Holocaust, so it might have an alternate timeline involved. This was gifted to me from Whitney from Secret Sauce of Storycraft, and she has read so many science fiction books and seems to know my taste pretty well. So I trust that I will enjoy this one quite a bit. I love that it's also short, relatively short, a standalone, and I would love to get to this before the end of this year. Next on my list is part of a reading project that I want to do, and that is to read dystopian literature to challenge my dystopian aversion, because I think I have this aversion to dystopian literature, and yet that's been proven wrong with a few different books that I've enjoyed. But 1984 by George Orwell is a very famous novel, as you all know. I have never read it. I did watch an adaptation of this when I was a kid, so I know the basic premise. I know about Big Brother is watching. Who doesn't at this point? It's so embedded in our culture. But I want to push through and read this. This is a book that I have a feeling might not personally resonate with me on a high level, but I was proven wrong, by the way, in that last science fiction TBR video I made, and who knows, I might find this is worthwhile or very resonant after all, but I am going to give it a shot because it's one of those books that I feel like I would gain value from even if I don't end up enjoying the experience. I feel like I will see value in the future with other books that are taking inspiration from 1984. And speaking of inspiration, I understand that George Orwell wrote this very much inspired by another book that is very similar, one that is called We. I don't know if I'm going to try to read We. I feel like maybe I should, but this is one that is part of my project for reading dystopian literature. I should go ahead and mention another book that is on this project, and maybe I'll just add this to the list here, and that is Brave New World. I have never read Brave New World. I know everybody read this in high school. For whatever reason, it was never assigned to me, so that is another book that I know my friend Whitney from Secret Sauce of Storycraft, she encouraged me to read that in addition to 1984 to get a broader understanding of dystopian literature as well. So that's on the list as well. Another book that I'm not sure will personally resonate with me, but again, I'm reading it more for educational purposes than anything else. And then next on the list is one I think I will enjoy, or I have high hopes for anyway, and that is Permutation City by Greg Egan. This is one that I know Jonathan from Words in Time loves. I believe he has talked about this on his channel a couple of times. I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, Jonathan. If you watch this, I hope I'm right that you love this book, but it sounds intriguing. From what I gather, it has to do with somebody who is creating simulations of themselves through a virtual reality format, maybe virtual clones, so to speak. And I understand it is hard science fiction. I love the cover. I want to give it a shot. I'm not sure that hard science fiction is always my cup of tea, but I have an idea that it might push the boundaries of my mind, and I'm excited to give it a shot. Next up, a tried and true author for me, Ursula K. Le Guin. This is Worlds of Exile and Illusion, and it is part of the Hainish cycle, if I understand correctly, though the Hainish cycle is, I guess, a series consisting of books that don't have to be read in any order. I have read so far The Word for World is Forest, The Dispossessed, The Left Hand of Darkness, and so I might as well read Worlds of Exile and Illusion, but unlike those other novels I mentioned, this, I understand, it consists of short stories, and I have not yet read any short stories by Le Guin, but I know that she is highly lauded for her shorter fiction in addition to her award-winning novels. And so far, I have yet to be disappointed by Le Guin. I've enjoyed everything I've read by her so far, even her nonfiction book about writing called Steering the Craft. And this one, I believe, consists of some space travel. So I'm just expecting to have a good time with this when I can get to it. And so it is on the list. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is an interesting question of a title, and it is a book that I want to get to by Philip K. Dick. I have read Ubik by Philip K. Dick, Ubik or Ubik, I've heard it pronounced both ways, and I enjoyed that book so much more than I was expecting. So I have yet to get to more Philip K. Dick, PKD, and I've heard from Heidi, a commenter, that this book has a thematic rug pull ending. That is my favorite kind of thing. I talked about that in Things I'm Loving in Books with Thomas R. Howell when we had that discussion a while back. How more than a plot twist at the end of a book, I love when a book recontextualizes the themes with some big reveal. I feel like Ishiguro is excellent at doing that, but after Heidi said that Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep does this, it's pushed it far further up my list. And again, I've enjoyed Ubik by Philip K. Dick, so why not try Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The Mountain in the Sea is by Ray Naylor. I believe this is Ray Naylor's debut. It came out in 2022, and I'm curious about this book for a few reasons. One, it has to do with octopi and consciousness, very intriguing topics in my opinion. But another reason that I'm curious about this book is because I saw so many people reading it last year, and I saw general praise for this book. And I think that was telling. And nobody mentioned it as a favorite of all time, but I didn't see a single negative review of this book. So I'm curious about it. And then another reason I'm curious about it is that I've realized, especially when it comes to traditionally published science fiction and fantasy, I don't read a lot of debuts. I've read some indie published books that are modern fiction or debuts, but I haven't gotten to any traditionally published ones, with the exception of Simon Jimenez. I read The Vanished Birds and Spear Cuts Through Water. And I was wondering about this because I did ask the question in the Fireside Discord a while back if anyone has come across a debut author within the last 5 to 6 years that left a deep impression on them. And there were so few answers to this question. Many indie books, which is great, but not many when it came to traditionally published science fiction and fantasy. And I know there's a lot of conversation right now about whether books are getting worse, and I know that's a whole other thing, and everybody seems to think that that's not the case. But it does make me wonder, what are some of the new books, or what are some debuts that are coming to the surface that are leaving impact, that are making an impression on people in recent times? So I don't know that this will necessarily be the most impactful book for me. Like I said, I didn't see anybody mention it as an all-time favorite, but again, I want to give it a shot. I want to try out Ray Naylor, and the topic sounds intriguing. Next couple of books on my list are Octavia Butler related. I love Octavia Butler's book Kindred. That is actually one of my favorite books. I love that book. I love the way it's time travel that is giving you an important theme about racism without hitting you over the head with it. I think she's very good at inserting her themes as problematic situations for the characters and also exploring agency and consent in an interesting way. But I picked these two books because, well, I already read Dawn. I'm not interested necessarily in rereading Dawn, though I'm not opposed to it. I did enjoy this book. This book is a fascinating first contact story. It is quite weird. And I haven't continued the series because, one, and this will come up with the next few books on this list, for one thing, I'm the worst when it comes to continuing science fiction series. I was proud of myself that I got as far as I did in Book of the New Sun, that I read those 4 books and then Earth of the New Sun. But when it comes to science fiction in general, I'm terrible about this. I'm terrible about continuing past book 1. So in this case, I didn't move on to book 2 in the Exogenesis series, which is what this is called, or Lilith's Brood series, because I was told that you can space the books out, a very dangerous thing to tell me, because I will. And because it takes off with a different storyline, different character. So I felt very comfortable taking my time. At this point, I'm thinking I should really continue that series because I did enjoy book 1. Why not continue? So I would like to get to book 2. I just don't own it on my shelf right now, which is why I'm pointing to book 1. But another series I want to get to, or duology, I should say, I guess that's what it is The Parable of the Sower. Is that the name of the duology? I should probably double check that. But book 1, Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. This is clearly a very famous book, very prophetic from what I understand with what's going on in the world right now. And in fact, I think it takes place in 2024, 2025, 2020s. Anyway, I think this should be an interesting read. And I heard that it goes even deeper than Kindred for some people. It is dystopian. So I think I might want to try to get into my dystopian project first, which is why this is not super high priority for me. Another reason it's not higher priority is because I want to continue Exogenesis first, but I do plan to get to this. It's on the shelf. It will happen at some point. Another book that has gone way down the totem pole but is still there is going to be the second book in Terra Ignota. And again, I only have book 1 on my shelf, and that is Two Like the Lightning. I read this at the beginning of last year. I'll go ahead and link my review in the description below because I don't remember all of the details that I said. It was a very general review. I didn't go into a lot of depth, no spoilers. But this book I had mixed feelings about because the character who tells the story is somebody named Mycroft. This is set in the future, and I can't remember all the details except to say that Mycroft's voice grated on my nerves at times. I wasn't a big fan of Mycroft's humor, but at the same time, I found the world building in this so interesting. Ada Palmer takes great inspiration from history, from the 18th century poetry and European culture, ties it into the story. But in addition to that, you have an interesting play on religion with a past war on religion. So you can't have households of 3 or more people of the same religion proselytizing. You have to have kids with spiritual mentors to help them figure out what they believe in. And then the whole entire mass transportation situation was fascinating, where you can get from one part of the world to the next within a day. You can go all around the world in a day, and what that means when it comes to the concept of citizenship. So many interesting, fascinating ideas in this book, but also very well written, even though the character voice grated on my every last nerve at times. So again, some mixed feelings. I tended to enjoy it more as I went on in the book. It was quite ambitious. I had to take my time and understand what the heck was going on with this weird 7-10 list that you learn about. I still think about the book, even though I didn't feel like it was a home run experience. I think about it enough that I think I should continue at some point. It's just a matter of when, but it is in my thoughts. Okay, now I think I've gone through all 10 books, including 4 I need to haul if I read them, including Brave New World, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the second in the Lilith's Brood or Exogenesis series, and the second book in the Terra Ignota series, if I can get to all those. But I do have 2 honorable mentions, only because they have been on my shelf for a few years and I still haven't gotten to them. And I say honorable mentions because, with one of them, I want to read this, but I just haven't felt any inclination to read it. I can't tell you why, but I know people are going to get after me in the comments about this, I imagine anyway. And that is going to be The Fall of Hyperion by Dan Simmons. I enjoyed Hyperion by Dan Simmons. This took large inspiration from the Canterbury Tales, including the structure of the story, which follows a group of people on a pilgrimage to see this Shrike creature. And so we get each of their backstories, campfire style, if you will, although it's set obviously in the future. Lots of space and AI integrated into the story. John Keats, if you know, you know. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. I will say that it wasn't a consistent reading experience for me because there were some storylines I absolutely adored, like The Priest's Tale, the first tale. Absolutely loved that tale. The Scholar's Tale was excellent. And yet there were a couple of storylines that just fell a little flat for me. But overall, great ambitious work. But I didn't feel this need to continue on right away. And I can't tell you why. I guess I felt complete in my experience when I finished the book. But I know so many people highly encourage reading on with the rest of the Hyperion Cantos. And so The Fall of Hyperion is on the shelf. I love that I have this trade paperback edition here. I know I should read this. I know I should read this. And maybe I'll prioritize it this year after this video. Maybe I'll feel so much shame after I post this video that I'll get to it. But like I said, I just don't quite feel that pull to want to read it. And then another one that's been on my shelf forever that I haven't gotten to is a Star Wars book. And I think after seeing Murphy fall in love with Star Wars, it's given me some FOMO, not gonna lie. But I have had the Thrawn trilogy on my shelf for a long time. I've heard the audiobooks of this are great, so I was thinking maybe as a palate cleanser, I could just try this out via audio or immersion read it, or use the book as a reference, because I'm not the best when it comes to audiobook listening with science fiction and fantasy, but it is a thought because it is there on my shelf. And at the very least, I could read book one, and if I don't like it, then I could just unhaul it, and that would be an easy solution. So there are those. Another one I should also mention that I'm curious about is The Female Man by Joanna Russ. I haven't prioritized that, but it is one that I'm very intrigued by. So that didn't quite make the list. I think I was trying to prioritize books that I physically own, or that I at least own book one of. But that is one that I am, again, very curious about. So that concludes my list of science fiction books that I want to read. Please let me know in the comment section below if you've read any of these books, if you recommend any of these books, or if you're planning to read any of these books. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.